The secret letter hidden in a wall for 70 years. The night was heavy with rain in Brooklyn, New York. Inside an old house awaiting demolition, water dripped from the roof in a steady rhythm, tapping against the wooden floor like the slow ticking of time. Before the house could be sold, workers had been hired to tear down the worn walls and rebuild. Among them was a young immigrant from Mexico, Elias, who had come to America with only one dream: to build a better life for his mother, and earn a little respect for himself. One swing of his hammer brought down a chunk of plaster, and there, wedged between bricks, something unusual appeared, a faded envelope, edges yellowed and brittle, its paper fragile as dust. Elias wiped it gently with his sleeve. Written on the front was a date, 1952. For a moment, his breath caught in his chest. 70 years. He glanced around. Nobody else had noticed. He quietly slipped the letter into his pocket. The first revelation. That night, back in his cramped rented room, Elias sat beneath a flickering lamp and carefully opened the envelope. The handwriting was shaky but deliberate, the ink faded with time. My dearest Evelyn, if this letter ever reaches you, know that I did not abandon you. They want me silenced because I have seen too much how this city is built on the sweat and blood of immigrant laborers. If I do not return, let this be my last truth to you: I loved you until my final breath. Thomas. Elias froze. His fingers trembled as he held the fragile paper. This wasn't just some forgotten note. It was a man's final words, written 7 decades ago, before he disappeared. A strange connection. Elias lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. Something in Thomas's words gnawed at him. The injustice. The loneliness. The silence. He thought about his own life, working long shifts, invisible to most, with only exhaustion to show for it. Thomas had fought for people like him. And paid the price. But who was Evelyn? Did she ever know the truth? Was she even alive? The search begins. The next day, Elias went to the public library. He scrolled through reels of microfilm, hunting for the name. And there it was, in an old newspaper clipping: local activist Thomas Whitmore disappears. Police suggests suicide. The article was vague, almost dismissive, but hinted at suspicions. Thomas had been a labor organizer, advocating for the rights of undocumented workers in factories. His sudden disappearance had been brushed aside, swept under history's rug. A fire lit in Elias's chest. This wasn't just about one man anymore. This was about a truth buried deep, like the letter in the wall. Finding Evelyn. Through old public records, Elias traced Evelyn's name. She hadn't moved far. Now in her 90s, she was living in a nursing home, just a few miles from where Thomas had vanished all those years ago. Elias hesitated before knocking on her door. Inside, he saw a frail woman, her thin hands resting on a photo album in her lap, her eyes distant, clouded by age and memories. "Ma'am," Elias said softly, pulling the envelope from his pocket. "I found this while working on an old house. I think it belongs to you." Her fingers shook as she reached for it. Slowly, she opened the letter. As her eyes scanned the faded words, tears welled and rolled down her wrinkled cheeks. 70 years of silence broke in that single moment. The truth she never knew. "I thought he left me," Evelyn whispered, her voice cracking. "Everyone said he ran away. That he was weak, that he couldn't handle the fight, or me. I hated him for it. I built my life on that hate." Her hands gripped the letter tighter. "But this shows he never betrayed me. He was taken. Silenced. He died for those workers. Her chest shook with quiet sobs. Elias sat beside her, his own eyes burning. He felt like a bridge across time, carrying Thomas's voice to the woman who had waited her whole life to hear it. A promise. Evelyn turned to Elias, her eyes wet but fierce. This letter isn't just for me. People must know what happened to Thomas. That he wasn't a coward, but a fighter who gave everything. Promise me you'll tell them. Elias nodded. I will. And he meant it? Justice after silence. Within weeks, Elias had gathered newspaper clippings, historical records, and the letter itself, and shared them with a local journalist. The story ran with the headline, Justice After 70 Years, the hidden letter that reveals the truth of Thomas Whitmore's disappearance. The article painted Thomas not as a runaway or a weak man, but as a martyr silenced for standing up to exploitation. For the first time in 7 decades, his name was cleared. The final scene. One crisp autumn morning, Evelyn sat in the nursing home garden, wrapped in a shawl. In her trembling hands was the newspaper, the article about Thomas spread across the page. Her lips quivered as she whispered, almost to herself, "They finally know who you really were, Thomas. They finally know you loved me." A tear slid down her cheek, but this time it wasn't from grief. It was release. From a distance, Elias watched her, silent and humbled. He realized something profound: sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. Sometimes, it reaches out through walls and time, demanding to be heard. And sometimes, all it takes is one stranger to carry a message of love, justice, and truth across 70 silent years.